All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Ask Away segment of the Everyday Judaism podcast. Today is Ask Away 23, not 22, 23, the Michael Jordan episode, right? Okay. My dear friends, I know you have questions. I hope I have some answers. We're going to start with David. Please pass the microphone to David, and let's hear your question, David. We're really, really excited to just be careful. Here you go. You got it? Perfect. Thank you so much. Here we go. Okay. You got it. You got the wires. Perfect. Don't pull too much. You got it. You got it. You got it. Go for it. You go. Take them. There you go. All right. David, so wonderful to see you here this beautiful Sunday morning.
Thank you. Great to see everybody.
Yep. All right. There you go. You got the microphone. Take the microphone.
Two questions. One, I think I know the answer to. The other, definitely don't. On the countertops. So if it's a new countertop, is it just similar to a non-Jew making a ladle or anything else? You still need to do it because you had mentioned if it had had previous usage, you need to kosher the countertop. But if it's a new countertop made by a non-Jew, is it the same thing?
So that's a great question. A new countertop would not require kashering. It's never been used before. It's fresh. It's from Hashem's holy earth, and therefore it does not need the granite countertops. One should use caution, though. I'm not going to give the halachic ruling here, but regarding a countertop, if it's granite, if it's any type of stone, that's not a problem. Today, there's a lot of manufactured stone like quartz or quartzite that are great countertops. They're beautiful countertops, but they're problematic with regard to kashering. Okay, so just know this before you buy one. Someone was just telling me yesterday that they're in the process of buying a home, and they're planning to put new countertops. And I said, just be careful about which countertops you get. It used to be Formica. That was the old. I remember my parents, they got Formica. That was like the newest technology back in the 80s, right? But today, everyone's using granite countertops and different types of. Just use caution before buying a new one. Ask a rabbi which one can be kashered, which one cannot be kashered. Regular granite can be. It's not a problem. So I hope that answered that question.
The other one is you mentioned something small that only contains 3 to 5 ounces or less doesn't need to be koshered. Is there a particular reason why a smaller vessel doesn't need to be?
No. It wasn't referring to not needing to be kashered. Okay. It was, what did we say? What was it about? Give me a second here. We're in halacha number 37. What did he say? If the repair means let's say you had a goblet that you got from your grandfather. You want to use it for your Pesach Seder, but you look at it and you're like, oh my, there's a hole in it. Right? There's a hole in it because it's so old and it's been, rusted, whatever. I want to bring it to a silversmith and have it renewed. So if it is larger than 3 to 5 ounces size, then it's a significant. If it can't hold already 3 to 5 ounces, then it's a new vessel essentially, and then it does need to. But if it does not, if it holds it already that quantity, it's not a problem. It does not need to be redipped just because it was brought to a non-Jew to repair.
That's small.
Again,
what about rust on something that small? Does it also have to be removed before you can use it?
Right. So rust is not healthy for you to eat rust, right? Or drink from rust, sure. Rusty vessel. So you want to make sure it's clean anyway. Okay. But if it had, and you need to bring it to a non-Jew to have it repaired, then probably the same would apply.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
But what if you're Marilyn Robinson? What if
you are Marilyn Robinson?
What if you're eating with non-Jewish people and you have dinner at your home with kosher utensils?
It's not a sin for non-Jews to eat kosher food.
They're non-Jewish people holding the.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with them holding the utensils. It's your utensil. It belongs to you. They can eat from it. Okay, so I've had many non-Jews eat my.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the home not kosher. It doesn't make the food not kosher, and it doesn't make the utensils not kosher. Okay, it belongs to me. It's mine. What the halacha here is talking about, when you're acquiring it from a non-Jew and you're bringing it into your possession. All right. Again, this goes back to the Torah, Leviticus, or Numbers. Numbers. What's the? Where is the source for it? Is look it up. Oop. Oop. Oh, that was my Google. Woke up. I'm sorry to our online audience because they're waiting for it in the on the podcast. We cut it out, but you just look it up here.
Yeah, there's people who won't kiss if one just ate meat and one just ate dairy. So same thing, if a non-Jew comes to your house eating an ice cream cone and you're serving meat and they're putting the fork in their dairy mouth. Just saying.
Okay, the source for it is
You said a
31.
You said a non-Jewish
22.
person
Here we
is
go.
eating dairy.
Okay, I was
What if
one
a
page
Jewish
away.
person is eating dairy, ice cream cone?
So here we go. The Jewish people conquered the land of Midian. Vayomer Elazar HaKohen Elanshi Atzava, and Elazar the Kohen said to the men of the legion who came to the battle, "This is the decree of the Torah which Hashem commanded Moses. Only the gold and the silver, the copper, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that comes into the fire, you shall pass through the fire, and it will be purified. But it must be purified with the water of sprinkling. And everything that would not come in the fire, you shall pass through the water." Okay, so anything that came through the fire, you need to kasher it first and then put it in the water. Again, this is biblical. This is not, okay? But this is, again, those things. What are they? The silver, the copper, the iron, the tin, the lead. Now, glass and other things only rabbinically require an immersion. Okay, so that's the source for it. The source we have. That doesn't make the food. If you host guests in your home, as long as the food is kosher, right? All of the dishes remain kosher, and all of the utensils remain kosher. Right? They're not making it not kosher by eating from it. Right?
Makes sense.
Right?
I don't think so.
Right. Okay, good. Good. Okay. We're on the same page here. Okay, great. Next question.
Well, my question is leans toward political
Oh, let's go.
issues. And the Torah. Does a leader, according to the Torah, or are there leaders in the Torah, need to be a person of moral character?
The leader in other nations or among the Jewish people?
Among the Jews.
Of course. Yes, a leader in among the Jewish people. You see, Moses was superb character. Superb character. Aaron, Joshua. It was more, maybe even more about the character than about the wisdom and knowledge.
And the reason I'm asking the question is because there are so many Jews that support political figures that do not have moral character.
Right, but that's not in the Jewish world. We're living in a non-Jewish country. We're living in a non-Jewish environment. Right. So if I was living in Russia, I would have to find what's the best interest of the country that I'm living in vis-a-vis my living there as a Jew. right? So it's not about we're not picking favorites here. The Jewish people traditionally picked the less threatening enemy. Okay, that's like the less threatening, the least harmful candidate is the one the Jewish people traditionally have gone for. Uh, that's that insanity that we're seeing today in New York and in other places of Jewish people. There was even this video that went out, this viral video of four female rabbis. I don't know if you saw that video.
No.
Uh, all Reform rabbis, which is fine, but one of them was a transgender, so she was actually a guy. I think it's like, and they're supposed to be our like Jewish authority on telling us what's best for the Jewish people. I don't think so. So it's like, it's like, so I had someone who said to me, he says, my 5-year-old son or daughter know more Torah than all of them combined.
Mhm.
Right? They are not the authority on the Jewish idea of what is right and what's wrong. I hope I don't get stoned for saying that, but it's just like,
Well, that was my question.
Okay, so the
because
thing is
it's-
like this: there has to be a blend, and if we do see I'll give you even an example from the Talmud. The Talmud states a story that one of the great sages had heard that there's rumors about someone who potentially he's the Mashiach. Potentially, at least there was word going out that he was Mashiach. So he sends his son-in-law to go investigate. Let's go find out if he's the Mashiach. So he goes and he comes back, and his father-in-law asks him, "No, is he?" He says, "Not the Mashiach." He says, "How do you know he's not the Mashiach?" He says, "I saw the way he sat. I saw the way he sat. He's not the Mashiach, guaranteed." Why? Because the Mashiach is of a refined character. The way they eat, the way they drink, the way they talk, the way they act with people, the way they care, their sensitivity, not only their wisdom, not only their knowledge, their character is so essential. It says that that you should find a rabbi who acts like an angel in their caution, the way they speak to people, in their delicate sensitivity, the way they deal with a poor person, the way they deal with someone who's less fortunate than they are, the way they're caring for a community, etc., etc. So it's not just wisdom and knowledge. It's not just that. It's the way they carry themselves, the way they represent their community. And there can't be, every once in a while, sadly, you'll hear a story, oh, a rabbi this, a rabbi that. I wonder what qualifications they had to be called a rabbi, right? Anybody can be a rabbi, right? But what are the qualifications? I know, because I know that the process through which I became a rabbi is not only measured on curriculum, it's measured by many different dimensions. And that the person's not going to be a sore image for the community. That's something which is so crucial. Now, regarding non-Jewish leaders, we expect decency in their private life, in their character. We don't.
No, but
We-
I
we-
would
we
think that the
expe-
Jewish people wouldn't support those people.
Right, but who are you going to find today on either side of the aisle that we say, oh, this is someone I want babysitting my child? Okay, I don't think there's anybody. Okay, so I don't think it goes by that, and I think we lost the idea of having decent moral character. Already back in the 90s, in the Oval Office, there wasn't exactly the most delightful character of a president. So, and that didn't change. You look at the last 5 governors of the state of New York, right? Last 5, they all left in disgrace, having an affair, some went to jail, right? It really is. It's extraordinary. Now, again, public office shouldn't be just shouldn't be the barometer of our morality. Okay, it's not our brightest and our best and brightest that go there. Okay, it's usually the
Well,
most vicious that go there. It's usually the most vicious, the fighters, the most venomous among us that go into politics. So we got to be very careful not to expect not to expect our politicians to be of high moral character. There are very few, and they fall out of politics very fast. They don't have a long lifespan. Those who are of real moral character. You may remember, I don't know his moral character. I don't know his personal, but I remember the media mocking Mike Pence that he wouldn't meet with women privately, only with his wife present. And they were laughing at him. They were like, here's a guy of moral character. Here's a guy who wouldn't even, right, who would not have any interview with a woman alone without his wife being nearby. And he was being mocked like he was the dumbest guy out there. Right? So what it's a very complicated world we're living in. And I definitely do not look to our politicians to be the barometer of morality and character. I look for people who are, this is what I try to look for, and it's very hard to find, people who will fulfill their promises, right? Very odd, very rare to find in a politician. They are, I used to learn with a politician. I'm not going to say who. I used to learn with him privately in his office. And I called my wife after study, and I said, I feel like I'm bathed in greasy oil. Okay, after I left his office, like it's like all that you expect. They're so nice to people on the outside, but it's all fake. It's all fake. And it's like you feel like I need to go into a mikvah after for immersion to cleanse myself. Okay, so it's like, again, they're good people. Perhaps they could be a good father, a good husband, a good wife, a good whatever. They could be a great grandfather too. I don't look to politicians to be my example of what the Torah expects from us, and I don't necessarily vote for that either. I think that we should have a couple of things that we should identify in the politicians that we vote for. Forget party. It's nothing to do with party. I would say number one is how good they'll be for the Jewish people in their land. And number two, how good they'll be for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. So this is the order could be that Israel's priority over here, but
Well, there's a problem in New York.
There's a problem in many places in the world, But don't forget, look at the Jewish history and look how we've had people who loved us and then people who didn't know who we were. For example, at the end of the book of Genesis, we have Pharaoh. Pharaoh loved Jacob and he honored Jacob and he honored Joseph, and Joseph was the viceroy. He was the second in command. Comes the beginning of the book of Exodus, which the next portion. There was a new king who didn't know who Joseph was, and boom, it was over. 210 years of slavery. The Jewish people were the prized possession of the Egyptians. And then suddenly they're slaves for 210 years. And they gave them the most miserable experience. Right? So it can change in a dime. And even though, and I'm sure there were people, and we see this there were people who didn't want to leave Egypt. Like, Egypt is the promised land. Right? Egypt is such a great place. There were Jews who said that in Poland, by the way. They said Poland, right? Po means here. This is our land. We don't need to go to Israel anymore. We don't need to go to our homeland. Poland. This is it, right? And that's why that was the name they used Poland as being. This is our homeland. This is it. And what happened? We know what happened. Right? And the same thing is with Spain, and the same thing is happened with everywhere in the world. So the Jewish people can never be, it's like, this is how we vote. That should change every 4 years, every election. We should reevaluate our values and reevaluate who it is that we're either doing or not doing what's best for the Jewish people. Rabbi, one second. There's a microphone that needs to get to you. so that we can hear you. We need to hear you. There you go. Go for it.
I just want to say something first before I
Okay.
ask my question.
Introduction to the question.
Okay, yes. I'm Eliana Schimmel, and along the lines of what Marilyn was saying and what you answered, is that, we take pride in the Jewish people always questioning and our different opinions and all that. And I think that sometimes we forget about that when it comes to politics, because one group, they always vote one group, and just like we do in Judaism, just like we do with the Torah, we have to go in and we have to ask the questions and study, and otherwise we're going to
Right.
get the wrong people.
Yes. So the sheep mentality, the herd mentality
Mm,
of
mm.
just like, this is the way I've always voted. This is what my community votes. This is just what we do. We don't accept that with anything in Judaism. Why should we accept that with regarding to our elections? Now, again, I do think that we should have priorities, and every person can make their own list of priorities. But again, what the only part I'm going back to what Marilyn said is, it's important for us not to look at our politicians to be our moral compass. Those aren't the examples of character that we should say, oh, this is stellar character. This is finally I found the mensch, right? They usually don't last very long in politics. All right. So now to your question.
Yes. First question is, how do we keep the mikvah sanitary?
That's a very, very important, very good question. The mikvah is the cleanest body of water you will find on planet Earth. I'm talking about the filtration systems that the mikvahs use today, ensuring that they are pristine. Right, and anybody who has been to a mikvah, you can testify to this. And those of you who have not been, I urge you to go to a mikvah to see. We can do a tour here if the class is interested. We can do a tour of a mikvah to see the cleanliness of the water. It is absolutely, the entire mikvah is filtered through constantly to ensure that it is pristine on the the highest standard possible. So it's yes, so that's also a reason why you don't want to use a women's mikvah for utensils. You don't want to have the stickers and all of the anything else that may have been on that utensil now floating around in that water. That wouldn't be pleasant and that wouldn't be clean. So that's why most mikvahs are not used for utensils. They have a separate utensil mikvah, which is 100% kosher, that is only for the utensils. And you have a women's mikvah, which is just for women, and a men's mikvah, which is just for men. For that reason.
One final question.
Sure, go for it.
You talked about the different types of countertops. We actually have laminate. How can you explain how you go through the process?
Right. So kashering a Formica type of that would be with water, just like you do with any other type of countertop. You can make sure it's clean it really well, bubble up the water up to a boil, and then just pour it on top, and you've got yourself a glatt kosher countertop. All right, that's what we did our growing up. That's what we did, every Pesach. Just did the whole countertop, the whole surface, the sinks. Porcelain sinks are problematic because porcelain you cannot kasher. That's problematic. So that's why you'll find in most kosher homes you'll find stainless steel basins for sinks, because those are easily kasherable. All right. You just pour the hot water. You just pour the hot water. You make sure. Now, some, like my father, would do even more. He would have a steaming hot iron that would be like red, red iron, and he would take that along the surface while he was pouring. So you'd hear that sizzle, and the entire surface, making sure that it was done. It's much easier and safer today to use an iron. If you use an iron, a clothing iron, or a steamer that really gets to a solid temperature that really kashers it. If you put your hand after it's steamed or ironed and you can't keep your hand on it because it's that hot, it's hot enough. It's called yad soledesbo, that your hand will burn from it. Right. So if you put the iron, you make sure that it was wet first. You wet it and put that iron. You make sure you steam the iron, and then you put your hand on it after, and you're like, "Ooh, that's really hot." Right? You can't keep your hand on it because it would burn. That's how you know that it was hot enough. Okay, go for it.
Rabbi,
Yes, Bruce.
I'm really confused. I thought we couldn't acquire from non-Jew items like wood or other things like plastic that would absorb impurities.
Right. We were talking about acquiring pots and pans,
I
metal
understand.
pots and pans from a non-Jew.
but
The
I'm
wooden
talking-
can't be kashered.
Right, and the same with like plastic bowls
Mhm.
and stuff. Am I correct on
Correct.
that?
That's
Okay,
correct.
great. On a totally separate subject, back to what Marilyn said.
Ooh, politics. Okay, no, just
Well, I look at Yiftach. Here's a guy who was the leader of a band of brigands, and they came to him and made him a judge. He's in the judges, and he certainly didn't have sterling
character.
but he had the military training and victories for the time that they needed him, and the Jewish people took him on as the leader. Right.
Right. The only time that we find that moral character is being judged to ensure someone's leadership role is, for example, a gadlador. You look at the leader of the generation in Torah, right? It's not enough for him to be a leader in generation in knowledge of Torah. He has to actually be a leader of the generation in character. I'll give you an example if you want to understand like what I'm talking about. Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe Steinman, passed away a few years ago. He was the leading rabbinic figurehead in the Torah community. Rabbi Yashiv. And we talk about the Rav Shach. I mean, these were really great masters of Torah, but their character was sterling, like angelic people. Angelic. Like when you were in their presence, you felt like you were sitting with an angel. Right? You weren't saying some guy like, just like, casually, shouting at people or using words that aren't refined. You wouldn't find that. Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe, I'll give you just one quick story. A rabbi came to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe and asked about one of his students. What do I do with my student? My student is not cooperating with the program here in school, and I want to kick him out. So, is the rabbi, one of his students is not up to par. He wants to kick him out. So the rabbi says to him, "I hear," and he starts asking, inquiring a little bit, very gently. And he says to him, "What's the student's first name?" He tells him his first name. He says, "And what's his mother's name?" He says, "What?" He says, "Yeah, what's his mother's name?" So he says, "I have no idea." So the rabbi says, "You mean to tell me that you don't pray for this boy? You're ready to throw him out of school, but you haven't prayed for him? If you don't know his mother's name, that means you never prayed for him. How can you even think of sending this boy out of your school when you haven't been busy praying for him yet?" Right? So you understand the sensitivity? And there are hundreds of stories of where he would hear things. People would come as the leader. I can tell you, my grandfather was among those leading a generation, and the questions that would come to him were heavy, big questions, and you'd have to be dealing with it with delicateness. There were times that questions would come to the leaders of the generation, and they would cry, just feeling the pain for another person. Talking about people who worked on their character, who worked on perfecting their traits. And in the Torah, yes, the character of the leader is of essence. Right? So I hope that answered that, Bruce. I hope that the in the Torah, yes, it is very, very important that the character be absolutely spectacular. All right, Ed, go for it.
Yeah, what's the problem with quartz countertops? I've got quartz countertops,
Yeah.
and I mean they're scratch proof. I can take my sharpest knife and I cannot scratch them.
Right.
So I don't understand. They can't absorb anything. I don't think.
Right. So the question is not whether or not they can absorb your knife. Can it absorb flavor? And that's what we're dealing with. Again, I have to investigate it a little bit more to get back to you with a better answer, because you didn't ask that for me to say I don't know, right? But I really don't. I have to investigate a little bit more about how the process is.
It won't even absorb stains. I mean, at other countertops, I poured grape juice on it,
And it would stay. It would stay.
It won't stain.
Right. So it's a good question. I don't know why exactly and which ones. I will, Blineder, without promise, I will investigate it more this week and get back to you about that question.
Next question, my grill usually it gets up to like 600
One second. Go back again.
My grill gets up to about 600 degrees when I'm grilling a steak or something. So
Yeah,
all that
he has a Weber, just so you know. Okay. Yeah.
all that leaves in it are ashes. Are they not kosher? Does it take care of?
Yeah, that'll do the job. Kashering
Okay.
it. That'll do the job. Let me just tell you an amazing story. So I have a friend of mine. He frequented at my house many years. Him and his family, his children, and he said to me, it's really not fair because we always come to your house. We never have you at our house. What can I do so that you can eat at my house? I said, we can go buy food from a kosher restaurant. He didn't have a kosher kitchen. He didn't have kosher food in his house. So he had some kosher food, obviously. Most products today that you buy, you'll find with a kosher symbol. Either way, so I said, you know what? If you had a barbecue grill that was just used for kosher, right, that we can do. So he bought a brand new barbecue that was going to be used only for kosher. Okay. So I came, I was there, I assembled it, we connected it to the gas line. It was perfect, brand spanking new, beautiful grill. And we came there on a Sunday and we barbecued. Okay. And he said to me so many times, he says, it's only yours, only you're allowed to use it, nobody else is allowed to use it. Someone came over to me and told me, I just want you to know, I was by their house last week and we had a barbecue there and it wasn't kosher. Okay. So what did I do? And then a few weeks later, he called me and said, come with the family. We'll have a barbecue. So now I don't know for a fact that it was used, but I have heard that there's a strong possibility that it may have been used. So what I did is I told him, and I turned on the grill, turned it on to the absolute highest it can go. And then we went to go play some basketball. And in the middle, he was like, why is the grill on? We're not barbecuing anything yet. And I told him, we're just preheating it. Okay, we're just preheating it so that it'd be ready. Meanwhile, it was kashering it. It was 600-700 degrees right in there. And it was burnt to a crisp. Whatever was in there, it was kashered, right? By the way, those grates, before we used them, we dipped them in the mikvah. All of his utensils we dipped in the mikvah. It was part of the experience. But yes, so in such a case, we have to be careful. Now, I don't think he was trying to be deceiving, by the way, at all. I don't think he was trying to be deceiving. And he just doesn't know the laws. He doesn't know. He's like, whatever, it's fine. It's okay. Like, it's not okay, right? If a person doesn't know, we're going to get into the laws more detail soon. In the next episode, we're going to be dealing with bread of an idolater, food cooked by an idolater, milk of an idolater. This is all, we're going to get into that. But the overall idea is that someone who knows the laws, someone who is observing the laws of the Torah, is in the realm of understanding how the laws of milk and meat work, how the laws of kosher work, and I wasn't accusing the individual. The person has no idea that I know. All right, from this third source, but I just wanted to make sure, and all future times that I did go, made sure I preheated it so that it got to a temperature that was kashering it completely, and then we can put our stuff on there. Okay, so it could be problematic when someone doesn't know that, but in a situation like yours, yes, it gets to that high temperature, it kashers it, and it's ready to roll.
One more. What's the answer to the question I had a couple weeks ago that I don't remember what it was?
Oh, you were asking about glass. You were asking about glass, whether or not it needed to be submerged in water. You were asking regarding the blood that of the kashering process, the salting process. You asking what's if it was in a glass vessel. Glass vessels don't release, right? It absorbs and doesn't release. So probably could not be used for other things after the salting process was done in it. All right, so that was what you're referring to. All right, yeah. Mark, you got a question?
I might later.
You might later. Okay. All right, Anna, go for it.
Okay. So the first obvious thing to me,
I want to commend you, by the way, because you said right when we started this, like you have tons of questions, and you waited so patiently. We're already 36 minutes in, and you waited so patiently. That's really beautiful.
I was hoping they would be answered already, and
Okay.
some were, and some
Somewhere.
were.
Okay,
and
great.
Some were. And thank you. Okay. The most obvious thing to me is, my goodness gracious, it's so complicated, right? So why wouldn't you just buy everything from a Jewish company and support Judaism in a bigger picture?
Yeah, because Jews don't make everything. There's some really there's some really great products that are made by non-Jews, and we have to recognize that and go for the best, right? And if you see that Weber grill, I don't know if Weber's a Jewish company or not, but you know what? They make the best grills, and it's not a paid advertisement. They make the best grills, so yeah, you might want to stick to the best, and if it's not made by a Jew, it's not made by a Jew. And then there's a very simple process. Anything that comes into direct contact with the food needs to be put in the mikvah, submerged. And that's it. It's very quick. It's very easy. It's not a difficult process, right? You go one time and knock it all out. Yes. Next question.
I do vote yes on the tour of a mikvah, even though I've been. I would appreciate the tour if anybody else is going to take you up on that offer.
We'll try to put it together. Get a tour of a mikvah,
So,
and that would be for men and for women, just
Sure.
to see it, to understand the greatness of a mikvah. Yes.
you're talking about kashering by water or by fire, right? And a barbecue grill, 600 degrees. But what about in your oven? Can you kosher
Yeah.
a vessel in your oven?
Oh, like that, to just bring it to the temperature? Yeah, technically, yes. You can you self-cook your oven when you put what is it called, self-clean. When you put in the self-clean process, that's exactly what it's doing. It's really koshering it for you. And if you put the grates in there, now everything is kosher. But you should just make sure that there's nothing left. The truth is that once it's burnt out, it's ash. There's nothing really there. Like if you do, okay, well, I don't want to confuse it. We're going to get it. But yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. But then it has to go in the mikvah if it was not mikvahified before. Okay, so you first kosher it. You make sure that it's within the realm of kosher, and then you mikvahify it right after.
I heard you making a difference between vessels and utensils.
Same thing.
Okay. So wood can or cannot be kashered?
I don't believe wood can be kashered. Wood cannot be kashered.
So wooden spoons?
Right. So if it's trafed, it's trafed.
Okay. Now, plastic, you said can't be kashered either. But
right.
there's so many silicone utensils.
Right. So they can't be kashered.
It's the same.
Yeah, it's the plastic.
So what are you using on your nonstick stuff? You buy new and you dedicate to either meat or dairy?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly it. You
Okay.
dedicate it, and it's locked in, and that's it. You'll notice that many of the kosher brands of like they'll have like a red top for the meat. They'll have a blue top for the dairy, a green top for the pareve. I'll give you an example of pareve that's like fish. Fish is not meat, it's not dairy. Now you can make it dairy, and then it'll be dairy fish. You can't make it meat. You can never make fish meat, but you can. You in the sense that you're not supposed to mix fish and meat ever. It's not healthy. It's actually the Rambam says it's dangerous to mix fish with meat. It's very dangerous. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
No gefilte fish with brisket.
No gefilte fish with almost anything. Right. Right. It's like, yeah, gefilte fish is not known as a Jewish delicacy of honor. You know what I mean? It's like so. It's like. That's not why people come to Judaism. Like, let me try. You should try that gefilte fish. Like, it's like, that's not why people come to Judaism.
When I was a kid, I wouldn't eat it because I said, I'm not going to eat filthy fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. But there's a reason. It's actually a very good reason why there was a gefilte fish. You want to know the reason? I think we talked about it. Okay, so here's the thing. On Shabbos, there's a special mitzvah to eat meat and to eat fish and to eat and to wine and dine. You bring out the best foods. The problem was, this is many years ago, is that you're not allowed to remove the bones from the fish on Shabbos. Right? You can take the fish from the bones, but you can't. It's a complicated process, especially those bones were so small and so flexible. They could crack right into the fish, and then it's not pleasant. So people would be tempted on Shabbos to remove the bad from the good on Shabbos, and you're not allowed to do that. It's a biblical prohibition on Shabbos to remove the bad. It's called borer. You can't do that. So what do? What's the solution? Especially because they were really, really fine pieces of bone in the fish. They would grind it up together with the bone, and it'd be really finely. And then again, there's vitamin C in those bones, right? It's healthy too, right? But whatever other nutrients there are in that bone, but it was really, really thin and very, right? You could eat it, okay? But now that you ground it up, it became one thing, and you didn't have that issue of separating it anymore. And that's how gefilte fish came to be. All right, gefilte fish was the ground up fish, the fish meat together with the bone, so that now it didn't need to be separated. But then they came up with this jar with all of that stuff. It's not. This is not what it's about, my dear friends. That's not what fish is supposed to look like. Salmon, you can buy fresh salmon. It's kosher. Salmon is always kosher. But other fish, you need to ensure that they actually had fins and scales. Salmon, the color is so distinct that, but you can find today in Costco, you can find freezer packed with the big OU symbol. Delicious fillets of fish, and it's clean as can be. Really, really, very, very nicely done. I recommend that. I recommend that if you like salmon, they also have other kosher fish in Costco. You can find them in HEB as well. You can find all of these different fish if you're a fish connoisseur. But meats, you can find many kosher meats. My son is a meat wizard. Okay, no, he can tell you every cut of meat. He can tell you exactly what temperature. Smoked brisket, everything, you name it. He's a professional there. All right, continue.
One more. So I'm not 100% kosher yet. And recently,
you're kosher. The food may not
yes,
be kosher. Okay,
yes,
yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you. And recently I was invited to a potluck, and I didn't realize that I was going to a kosher home. And I made a couscous dish with chicken broth. And then when I got there, after people were partaking, I realized everything was separate. and I didn't say anything at the time. I was very embarrassed and uncomfortable. And so this person who I've observed their own kosher is questionable. I am now faced with the dilemma. Do I need to make an amends to this person? How do I go about doing that? Or should I just leave it?
Probably worthwhile for you to inform them that you don't have a strictly kosher home at this time yet, and you're in the process of growing and learning in that arena, and it could have affected some of their utensils. It could have affected some of the things. So they need to know it. They definitely need to know them. And it's important for you to inform them. And I think it's a big mitzvah for you to inform them, right? I've had this, by the way. Okay, I just want you to know, everybody makes mistakes. Don't be embarrassed by it. It's okay. My grandmother, okay, very holy, righteous woman. I love my grandmother, okay? She won Rosh Hashanah. I was by her with my wife and some of my kids. We were there for Rosh Hashanah dinner, first night Rosh Hashanah, and it was a meat dinner. And she brought out dessert, and the dessert that she had this, like, it was this ice cream, chocolate ice cream, like wrapped in a chocolate. It was like an Israeli delicacy, okay, and it was always paraf. Okay, it was always paraf. For some reason, this one was dairy. And she served us dairy right after we had the meat dinner. Right? It was obviously a total oversight, total mistake, but this is common. It happens. Right? You're talking about the house of a very righteous family, right? My grandfather, my grandmother, there's special people. My grandfather, was a big rabbi. Mistakes do happen. Okay, it's okay. All right, I've made a lot of things treif in my house too. Okay, okay, I've shared that with you. Mistakes happen. It's part of our growth. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And if I were to make something for someone else for dinner, right, I would inform them, this is meat, this is not, this was made, right? Let them know so that they know exactly how they deal with it. Okay. In general, if someone does not keep a kosher kitchen, it's important for them to tell people who are eating their food, I don't observe kosher yet. Okay, because we're all on a journey and we're all on the trajectory, and people should know that because you never know, someone who is observant of kosher, might be there, and unbeknownst to you, right? You don't want anyone to do anything that's inappropriate without them knowing, definitely. Okay, by mistake, right? Excellent question, Mark. I'm going to wrap it up, or you got a question? You got a good question. I see it. Okay, go ask a question. You good? All right, my dear friends. Any other questions? Anything else? We covered them all?
Off the air.
Off the air.
Yes.
Okay, can I repeat the question after?
Sure.
Okay, go.
Off the air. Can you talk about your vote on the constitutional amendments here in Texas?
My vote on the constitutional amendments in Texas, I don't even know one of them. So, yeah, there's a lot of constitutional amendments. You know what I'll do? My dear friend, very, very, very dear friend, who's on Zoom with us here, Gary Nathanson, will share with us on Monday night, tomorrow night. I'm sure he will come with a list of everything we should vote for or not. He prints them out so generously here for our class to learn of exactly all the great things out there, the good or not such good things. Gary, if you can enlighten us tomorrow, give us your opinion. We can have a conversation about it. We can discuss it and see what we think is good, what we think is not good, what should be voted for, what should not be voted for. Yes, you had a question?
No, I have an answer. This morning I watched about a half an hour.
1 second. Hold on a second. My dear friends, thank you so much for joining us. Please join us in this class by asking your questions. Send them, please, to askaway@torchweb.org. We look forward to addressing your questions and for you to be part of our class. Even if you're in Australia, you're in Germany, you're in New York City, wherever you are, it doesn't make a difference. We want your participation in our class. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed. Have a terrific week. Thank you.